times have you watched countless setup videos where the costs range from $10,000 to $30,000 and just been obsessed? Now imagine the person that owns this setup is 15 years old. Your first question might be, how the hell did they afford it? Well, today I'm interviewing Slush, aka Mason, to find out the answer to this very question. First question is, how did you become a creator? Like, what was like the first step for you to become a creator?
So I was in quarantine my sophomore year of high school, and I had a lot of free time, and Tech Talk was just starting to become like a thing, and a lot of the first creators were just starting out on Tech Talk. And I was like, wait, a lot of these people are like my age, because there was a lot of younger people like 16, 17, 18 starting out. I was like, I could do this. Like, I'm interested in the same things that they're interested in. I have the free time. I have like a decent setup right now. So I just started making videos about tech with my limited knowledge. I know a lot more about tech now, but when I started, I was like still learning, and I just kind of like documented that process of like building my setup, learning more about tech, like sharing cool tech, stuff like that.
And then like, why did you want to become a creator? Like, why did you do it?
At first it was just a hobby because I was like passionate about the subject. Like, I was interested in the subject, but now it's turned into something like I'm more interested in creating the actual content, like sharing the story rather than just talking about the subject. So now I make content about a variety of different subjects. But in the beginning, it was just like a way to connect with other people about my passion. Like, it was just like a big group chat, essentially. Like, I could just post something and I would get comments and I could like respond to them. And I thought that was really cool.
I'm sure the content creation has ups and downs, and I know that there's a lot of downs. So why did you like keep going? What was like the main thing?
The highs motivated me enough to get through the lows in a way, because it was like, I knew after a little while you kind of get used to like the ebb and flow of how like views and interaction happens, because you'll have a high period and then right after that, like, it's not really sustainable. So you have like a little bit of a low period and then high and low, but each time you have that low, it's a little bit higher than the last one. So you're like kind of going up and down like this. So each time I would get to a low, like the past highs would motivate me more, and I would remember like what it felt like to be like, have that on top of the world feeling. Even through my lows, like I saw people commenting and stuff. Like, it would be a lot less, but there would be still people supporting me, and I just kind of wanted to like keep going, not necessarily just for them, but like they helped to motivate me through those periods when it was a little bit harder.
Previous setup, what was it like?
Ooh. So I just gotten my first PC a couple months before that, and I knew like nothing about PCs, but I was starting to get more into tech because I'd gotten a PC. So I was starting to learn more about like peripherals and like monitors and certain different tech. At the time, I was still playing like Fortnite, and I was just interested in like gaming, but that passion was slowly starting to develop, and then like content creation kick-started it a lot. So that's when I started like really diving into setups in tech and growing that interest. It was pretty like bare bones. It was one monitor on like a gaming desk from Amazon, and I had a gaming chair from Amazon because I just looked up like gaming, and everything had the word gaming, and I had like gaming mouse, gaming keyboard, monitor, chair, everything, because I didn't really know much about tech at that point.
What inspired you to build your current setup you have now?
Falling in love with tech, and then like making content about the new tech. And I was always thinking like, how could I make this content better, more interesting, more engaging for people? And then like with that, my setup gradually kind of grew and grew and grew, and like brands started reaching out and offering to send me things, and every time they would send me something, like I'd add it to my setup. So it just kept growing and growing. And then past a certain point, you just kind of fall in love with creating your setup and like seeing it develop in front of you, because you look back at a picture from like 6 months ago and it's a totally different setup, because that's just how you have to be when you're a creator. Like, you have to be changing things up all the time, and not even necessarily upgrading, but just changing things. So I kind of fell in love with like that new feeling every time you change something in your setup, and then like it feels fresh. So that's kind of just like falling in love with the process of it, I guess.
What did you build your setup for? Was it mainly school? Was it to just get away kind of thing? Or like, where did you start with that? Like, what did you build your setup for? At the very beginning,
it was just for gaming. I had built it so that I could get 144 FPS on Fortnite, my only goal. And then past that, I kind of started to get out of Fortnite and more into like tech and other games, and like stuff like Valorant, other games like that, Overwatch. And so I started to kind of grow out of just Fortnite, and then with that, I was growing more into tech. So then I started making my setup for aesthetics, and then after that, I started making it for like content. So whatever would look the best for content or be the most interesting. So sometimes I would have like stupid things, like a 36-foot mouse pad or something that I would just throw on my desk and cover it just for a funny video. So I just kind of, it started out as just for gaming, but then it grew more into aesthetics and like personally enjoying the feel of the setup rather than just the feel of like a smooth game.
How long did it take to build your whole setup?
I still wouldn't consider it done, because like at least once a week I'm always changing something. To get to this point, it's been over 2 years, and I would say the first time that I really thought I had like an in-game setup was probably about a year after I started, when I like sat down. I was like, dang, I have like 3 monitors, I have a really good PC, I have like a whole big nice desk. Like, this is a really in-game setup. Like, this is something that I'd see on Setup Wars. And then past that point, like, it hasn't necessarily been upgrading, but just like changing things personally that would feel better. But I know a lot of people that would consider my setup like 8 months ago better than my current one. So at this point, I'm just switching things around because, like I said, I just kind of fell in love with changing things in that fresh feel.
After all that, like you got your setup now, you've been building things. During the journey of building the setup, how did you like afford things? What was your main source of income? You know, how did you afford that at your age? Like when you first started content creation would be more like, how is this kid affording X thing?
Yep.
Like, you know, I mean, I'm sure your parents had the same
Definitely.
question.
I've been working since I was 12. I say working, like it wasn't like I was like mowing lawns. It was a real job that I had like a boss. I was refereeing soccer games. I started when I was 12 and then gradually moved up. This is actually the first year that I quit. I quit my job in 2022. So I had been reffing for, that makes that 5 years straight. And that was like my main source of income in the beginning. And then I started getting brands like reaching out and offering to pay me. And at first it was only like, you know, a couple $100s or something to review a product, but that was enough to buy the next tech that I wanted for my setup. You know, that was enough to buy the next monitor or the next mouse or something. And then each video would kind of like pay for another video. So I just kept that train going. And eventually I just had like all this tech that I could mess around with all the time and change things. So it started out as refereeing and then it kind of transitioned into content creation. And now that's my like full-time income.
Did anybody help you build your setup or was it all you? Would you say it's like all your vision ideas?
In person, nobody helped, but I definitely took inspiration from other creators like online, like watching stuff like Setup Wars or watching other creators on TikTok. I would look at their setups and then I'd be like, you know, oh, that placement of that light looked really cool. Or like, oh, like where they had their monitors set up looked really cool. So I'd be changing stuff like that around all the time. So definitely I kind of took bits and pieces from 20 different people and built something that I personally like, because I would choose like my favorite part of somebody's setup and I would put that into my own. I never wanted to just like flat out copy somebody's setup, but I would take certain things from their setups that I liked and then incorporate them into my own setup. So definitely took inspiration from tons of people.
What are some of the future things you're looking to upgrade or improve upon? And I know you turned 18 this year, so you're planning on moving out fairly soon.
5 months.
Yeah. So what does that look like? What does that next setup look like?
I want to go a more like natural lighting, cleaner look that's more like minimal, because I've had like the super overkill like lights everywhere. I've had like 4 monitors at once and like another portable monitor set up. I've done all the overkill things, but to me having like a much more open and like clean look is preferable. Like right now I only have 2 monitors, whereas like I said, I've had like 5 in the past and I prefer right now more. So in the future, I think my next setup is going to have like a really big ultra wide on top and then just a normal monitor on bottom, and that's going to be it. And then I want to have like a wooden desk. I want to be in a room that has lots of natural lighting. My goal is to have no like colored lights, but just to have different like warm accents here and there to make like a really cozy setup.
Yeah, that sounds a lot better. I definitely agree with you. I think that's more of the wave more content creators are going forward is, you know, the warmer, vibeier setup than just this RGB mess. The final question is like, what are your future plans for your career? I know that right now you're a full-time content creator. Like what, you know, Mason or Slush Live look like in say 2-3 years? What does that look like for you and your channel?
I want to transition pretty heavily into lifestyle content while still making tech content. But I want to kind of do a little bit of everything with a heavier focus on just lifestyle and just sharing cool things in my life that I'm passionate about, whatever that may be. So instead of locking myself into one specific thing, I want to be able to make videos about anything and have people that will support it and watch it just because it's me and they've like grown to like me. I'm still always going to have a passion for like setups and tech because that's just like a part of who I am. And I'm still always going to have a passion for gaming because that's also just a part of who I am. And I still want to make content about those things, but definitely more of like incorporating those kinds of content into just general lifestyle, like the bubble. I feel like that's a really big area that I can just kind of do anything in. So definitely more towards that.
You know, you kind of passed me. Like before we, you know, were friends or even talked, you used to watch me and another creator. And, you know, it's crazy to see how the roles have kind of flipped now where, you know, I'm looking to you and, you know, asking you questions and looking at what you're going for. You know, you used to watch me on TikTok before I really took off on YouTube, you know, and you've always been the YouTuber. You've always kind of looked at the situation like TikTok's not going to be great. I want to focus like making long form YouTube. And you even quit TikTok for 2 to 3 months to hold down YouTube. Can you expand on that mindset, like that process of what you were going through at that time? Because I feel like kind of felt like the walls are going in on you for a sec before YouTube started actually doing well.
TikTok to me is a platform where in the beginning it is the best platform you could be on. If you're starting with nothing, no experience, no followers, TikTok is by far the best place for you to be. And I think that you can use TikTok as a great tool to supplement other platforms. And TikTok has certainly continued to grow and become more of a like long-term opportunity for people. But TikTok to me has always just seemed unstable. TikTok I think that the algorithm is a lot harder to understand. I don't think anybody really knows the algorithm, and like the people that are like, oh, TikTok gurus, because I used to watch some people like that, and I'd watch YouTube videos and be like, how to grow on TikTok, and be like, post it these times and use these hashtags. I just feel like nobody really has a grasp of what it actually is, whereas something like YouTube, it's a lot simpler of make good content and market it well and it will do well. So I've always thought of like something like YouTube or streaming being more long-term stable, and TikTok as a supplement to that. But the bigger I've gotten on TikTok, the less value I felt like I'm getting from TikTok. Whereas on a platform like YouTube or Twitch, the bigger I get, the more excited I get to keep expanding.
Yeah, that's definitely a great take. I think TikTok barrier to entry is low. You can get in it early, right? YouTube is kind of like, once you've established yourself on TikTok and you have a little bit of money to play with, then you have a team. You can kind of establish yourself, but you still do a lot of the things with one person. You kind of rely on Gunner, right? Gunner is the main guy. You go for it.
That's my only editor right now.
Yeah, so he's, you know, doing well with you, and you've kind of seen a lot of growth on the gaming channel. You know, that thing kind of came out of nowhere, where you kind of just like, you know what, I'm not Slush anymore, I'm Mason. And that, what was that like for you, I would say? Because I feel like YouTube, you know, you grew as Slush. You grew as Slush, you know, for almost 85,000 of your subscribers in the beginning of, you know, it being Slush. But no, you're like, no, you know what? I want my gaming personality to be Slush, and I want everyone to know me as Mason. What was like that change for you?
That kind of ties back into what I was saying earlier of I want to always have like a place for my different passions. And the way I consider it right now, like Twitch is where I do gaming, and the people that follow me on Twitch are there for gaming content. And then I have like, that's what my second TikTok is for now. So all my gaming content goes there. And then my main TikTok is mainly for tech content, and that's what the people there want to see. And then my YouTube in my head was going to be like my main platform where I post lifestyle content. Like my goal is to have a large YouTube channel built around lifestyle, and then from there like a bunch of subcategories of like Twitch is for gaming, this TikTok's for gaming, this TikTok's for tech, you know, this Instagram Reels page is for tech, and just have a bunch of smaller branches of content for all of my individual passions, while the main YouTube channel is just for me as a whole. So that's why I made the switch from being Slush, which was like my gaming persona, towards being just Mason Cargile, which is me. And that was a big leap for me, but I have found in the past that whenever I get too comfortable, and I know you guys have heard this like a million times before because everyone says this, but it really is true. Whenever you get too comfortable, you slack off, and then you kind of start losing your grip on things. So you always have to be pushing yourself to go out of your comfort zone and make the next big jump, so you have something to stay focused on and work towards.
If you enjoyed that video, watch this one next, and don't forget to follow the Twitch down below. See you there.